Ladies and gentlemen, about 5 minutes we'll be beginning. So in about 5 minutes, make your way to your seats. That'll be wonderful. We're going to start in about 5 minutes, so start making your way to your seats. That'll be great. Say it one more time. Can you hold it up? Yeah. Sure. Yeah, that'd be good. Yeah, just make sure that they can see it and we can see it. All right, everybody, we want to go ahead and get started. So if you can make your way to your seats, please, that would be wonderful. Go ahead and make your way to your seats. Okay, everybody, if you can start settling down, make your way to your seats. We want to get started. We want to be respectful of everybody's time, so we're going to get started on time so we can end on time. Please make your way to your seats so we can get started.
Hello, welcome. Are we ready? Yay! Hi there. Welcome, and thank you all for coming tonight. My name is Trina Murphy. I'm the publisher with the Citrus County Chronicle. The Chronicle's been holding events like this for nearly 40 years. It's our role as your community newspaper to provide good information and to provide your community newspaper knowledge when it comes to voting. We appreciate you coming tonight. To get us started, we're going to ask that you stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Very good. Please be seated. So my name is John Murphy. I'm part of the leadership team at the Chronicle, and I want to thank you guys for being here. Once again, we're privileged and honored. Our moderator this evening is going to be retired Circuit Court Judge Trish Thomas. And I want to tell you a little bit about some of what's going to happen tonight. Trish deserves an applause, right? That's okay. She's not on the ballot. It's okay to applaud her. So we, how this came about tonight, question-wise, was first and foremost, we looked to our readers. We talked to our readers. They gave us lots of recommendations, suggestions on questions. And then we went to the League of Women Voters. They've been a great partner through this entire thing, and that really helped to kind of be the basis. Ultimately, it was the editorial board of the Citrus County Chronicle that chose the questions that are going to be asked this evening. So I thought to kind of start the day, I would just kind of quickly run through who those editorial board members are so you know who they are as they kind of come to take the stage later on this evening. So we have publisher Trina Murphy is on the editorial board. We have the executive editor, Jim Gavalis, is on the editorial board. Jim, why don't you stand for us? And our editorial board makeup is mostly of citizen members within the community, and that's who all these next folks are. We have Tiara Alexander with us. Kurt Ebbets. Mac Harris, who's backstage. He'll be one of our first people to ask questions. So Mac Harris is one of our members. Thank you. Rebecca Martin couldn't be with us tonight, but she's also one of our members, one of our citizen members. I know we have Don Hires is here with us. Don. Roger Krieger is with us this evening. Roger. And as I mentioned, Trish Thomas is also on the editorial board, and she'll be our moderator. So Trish in a moment is going to give you the lay of the land on how it's all going to work tonight. So if everything works spectacularly, as I expect it will, it's all Trish is doing. If it falls off the rails, it's all Trish is doing as well. So also, for those of you that might be watching, or even if you're in the audience, we are live streaming this. This is on our YouTube channel as well as our Facebook page for the Citrus County Chronicle. And after this evening, it'll also be there in perpetuity. So if you wanted to rewatch it again, it'll be there for you as well. So without further ado, Trish Thomas.
Good evening. What an incredible turnout it is today. Let's give ourselves a hand. On on behalf of the Chronicle, we are so glad that you're here this evening to hear the candidates who are going to be on the ballot for the primary election that's going to be held on Tuesday, August 20th. Early voting is going to be from Friday, August the 9th to Saturday, August the 17th. The last day to register to vote in this primary election is Monday, July 22nd. The Supervisor of Elections office has a table set up over to my right, over here in the corner on my right, and they'll be able to help you with any and all questions you might have about voting issues. Before we get started, let's talk about how we intend to conduct ourselves here. You know, we all love for you to applaud your candidates, but we ask that you be respectful of all of the candidates. If you want to have a side conversation, please take it outside or take it into the back of the auditorium, keeping your voice low. We want to make sure that everyone will be able to hear all of the candidates' responses. Tonight, the order that you will be hearing from the candidates is as follows. We have the 3 circuit court judge positions. We have the Citrus County Court position. We have the candidate for the U.S. House of Representatives, candidates for the Supervisor of Election, school board candidates, the Superintendent of Schools candidates, the candidates for the 2 county commission seats, and the sheriff's candidates. First up this evening are the judicial candidates. The judicial candidates will each have 2 minutes to make a presentation to you. Since there are limitations on what issues a judicial candidate may talk about, there will be no questions asked of them by the Editorial Board. There are 4 judicial races that are going to be on the ballot in August. All of them are going to be decided in this primary race, and since they're nonpartisan, everyone is going to be able to vote in all of these races. The winner will be determined in the primary election. As a retired judge, let me tell you a little about the judicial races. The first 3 judicial races are for the position Circuit Court Judge. We are located in Florida's 5th Judicial Circuit, which is comprised of 5 counties: Citrus, Sumter, Hernando, Lake, and Marion counties. While judges in our circuit sit primarily in one of these counties, all judges serving as circuit judges in the 5th Circuit may serve in any of these named counties. Circuit court judges handle felony criminal cases, civil cases where the matter in dispute is greater than $50,000, family law cases, juvenile delinquency and dependency cases, and probate and guardianship cases. The 4th judicial race tonight is for the Citrus County Court Judge. This judge serves exclusively in Citrus County and will handle misdemeanor cases, civil cases under $50,000, small claims, and traffic cases. For the other offices tonight, each candidate is going to be asked questions by members of our Citrus County Editorial Board. As John told you, they have had assistance from members of our community as well as the League of Women Voters, and the League of Women Voters has been a great help tonight, and we greatly appreciate you being here this evening. There are going to be several questions asked in each respective race, with each individual having 1 minute to respond. At the conclusion of the questioning, each candidate will have 2 minutes to make a closing statement. With each question, the order of the questioning will be switched around between the candidates. We'll start the questions in alphabetical order as the names appear on the ballot. For the closings, we will hear from the candidates in reverse alphabetical order. We have some timekeepers that are sitting up here, compliments of the League of Women Voters, and they're going to be giving the candidates a signal when their time is up for the answers and a 30-second warning for their closing. Okay, that's enough talking from me now. We're going to hear from the candidates for the Circuit Court Judicial position, seat number 7. And I think off to my left, they should be appearing. Here they are. We have Aaron Daly and Derek Saltzman. And Aaron, if you would like to start off.
Thank you, Judge. Thank you, Judge Thomas. My name is Aaron Daly. I'm running for an open circuit court judge position. I have 35 years of courtroom experience. This is my first time I'm running for an election, so I'm pretty excited. Half of my experience in a courtroom, I started out at 19 years old in 1989 as a bailiff. So I was a uniformed first responder, first in the courtroom, wearing a badge and a gun. I was in New York at the time, and I was there for 9/11. I was a first responder through that. During the entire time when I worked, from the time I was 19 years old, I was going to college at night, and then after 9/11, I went to law school at night also. So I went to Brooklyn Law School. I graduated in 2006, and then I ran here to Florida. When I got here to Florida, I worked at the state attorney's office. I've brought cases to court, over 60 jury trials. Most of my cases were in the crimes against children, human trafficking realm, very serious stuff. I did a little bit of time as a private attorney working for a firm in Brooksville. I love learning. I love working with youth, mentoring them. But I have over 600 hours of continuing legal education, which is far in excess of what is required. I love doing that. I was the past vice president of the Bar Association in Hernando. I've been with my husband, Bill, who's in the corner, for over 20 years. And I left some cards on the seats, and all the seats are full. But please come over and get a resume, because tonight is about recognition and experience and proven integrity. So I've got a lot of endorsements and awards, such as Prosecutor of the Year for the state of Florida, and now I got an award from the White House for disaster relief. But I know how to run an effective courtroom because I've been doing it for so long. I'm an active volunteer in the community, and I'm looking for your vote on August 20th or next week when your ballots come in the mail. Thank you very much. Appreciate your time tonight.
Mr. Saltzman.
Thank you, Judge. My name is Derek Saltzman, and I'm running for Circuit Court Judge. I was born in a family of 5 in the state of Alabama, but we moved here in 1972, and I lived on an active working cattle ranch. I've earned 3 college degrees and been an actual in the courtroom, seated at the table, practicing attorney for 24 years. I've worked many jobs in my 56 years, almost 57. I've been a construction laborer. I've been a cucumber picker. I've been a school teacher. I've coached baseball, football, and wrestling for over a decade. And I'm currently serving as the vice president of the Hernando Bar Association and member of the Federalist Society. Also during this time, I've served as a deacon in my church, president of the Ridge Manor Kiwanis Club, the board of Ridge Manor News, and I've successfully ran the HYL Baseball League. I've told my kids and players that practice makes perfect. My entire life has been a practice, acquiring the skill set and the knowledge to become a judge. You have to have a broad background to be able to sit with that black robe on. Just as you would not want a surgeon who has performed one surgery, you shouldn't want a judge that's only handled one divorce, one family appellate case, or one probate case, and call that person experienced. I have the experience necessary to do this job from day one. I've handled hundreds of divorces, family law cases. I've handled civil cases. I've handled complex entertainment lawsuits against so-called guardians of youthful musicians. I ran my own practice for almost 10 years. For the past 14 years, I've worked as regional counsel, defending parents in juvenile dependency cases, as well as criminals in criminal cases. I've practiced throughout all of Florida and even had a few cases in Tennessee and Alabama. This experience makes me the best candidate to handle this job from day one. You can contact my... Thank you.
Thank you to the two of you, Ms. Daly and Mr. Saltzman. Coming up next for Circuit Court Judicial Seat 13 is Judge Heidi Davis and Zach McCormick.
Hi, good evening. I can't believe this is such a tremendous crowd. Thank you all for coming out this evening and listening to what all the candidates have to say. My name is Heidi Davis. I'm a little different than some of the candidates running for judge because I am already a judge. I have been a circuit court judge for nearly 14 years now. I am seated in Lake County, but when I was appointed back in 2010, I spent a couple of years, a year and a half, between Hernando County and Citrus County. When I was appointed in 2010, I was actually the first ever female judge to serve in Hernando County. You guys are very lucky and fortunate. You have a wonderful history of brilliant female judges here in Citrus County, but the rest of the Fifth Circuit was maybe not quite so enlightened. For the past 12 years, I've presided in Lake County, and I am currently the only female circuit court judge in Lake County. I have presided over every aspect that a circuit court judge could hear. Everything from adoptions, probate, family law, guardianships, the dependency delinquency dockets. And for the last 5 years, I have been on the criminal docket hearing felony cases. I have served as the administrative judge, which is kind of like our boss judge, and I did that all during COVID, keeping the courthouse open and safe and our cases moving. Since being appointed in 2010, this is the first time I've drawn opposition. When I started law school, and this is no lie, I started August 20th, 1995. My daughter turned 1 year old on that date, and here we are 29 years later, August 20th, she'll turn 30, and I hope you will vote for me. Thank you so much.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Zach McCormick, and I'm running for Circuit Judge here in the 5th. I first want to thank the Chronicle and the League of Women Voters for putting on such a phenomenal event tonight. Let's give them a round of applause. First and foremost, folks, this is a job interview, so I'm sure some of you have some questions. I've been practicing law for about 15 years now. I currently have a civil litigation practice that I started about 10 years ago. Before that, I was in the public sector, and I handled matters in the criminal area, interning as a state attorney first, and then my first job out of law school was as an assistant public defender. I'm currently certified by the Florida Supreme Court as a mediator at the circuit and county levels. I am arbitrator eligible by the Florida Supreme Court standards. I am the code enforcement magistrate for the town of Howey in the Hills, and I am chair of the Judicial Nominating Commission, which is a position that I have occupied for the better part of the last 5 years. And we have been picking judges. And I can tell you, folks, with all of that under my belt, one of the most informative, one of the most enlightening experiences that I've ever had is actually not in the legal field. It's as a father of 2 young boys who keep me on my toes, and my wonderful wife who's putting up with me here tonight in public. And folks, I'm going to bring my private work ethic to the bench. That means moving cases, folks. There's no substitute for elbow grease. And I am a strict constitutionalist. That means I believe that judges must apply the law as it is written, not as they wish it to be, so that we may together preserve this great republic and protect law and order. And I'm asking for your vote on August 20th. Zach McCormick for Circuit Judge. Thank you.
Thank you, Judge Davis and Mr. McCormick. Next, we're going to hear from Circuit Court candidates for Seat 20, Ben Boylston and Barbara Kisner-Kwatowski.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Ben Boylston, and I'm running for Circuit Judge because, like many, if not most of you, I'm concerned about the judiciary in this state and in this country. I'm concerned as a lawyer, I'm concerned as a citizen, and I'm concerned as a father. I've always believed that when a judge puts on a robe and takes the bench, it's not about them anymore. It's about things that are greater than them. It's about protecting the community at the same time that you protect people's rights. It's about fairly and evenly applying the law exactly like the law is, not how the judge wants it to be. And I think we've all seen that things aren't always that way in this state or in this country. But in my courtroom, it will be. And I understand how important these principles are because during my nearly 20-year career as an attorney, I've had many different perspectives. I've prosecuted criminal cases. I've defended criminal defendants. I've represented crime victims. I've represented small governments. I've filed lawsuits. I've represented small cities. And all of these perspectives I would bring to the bench. I also right now serve as the part-time special magistrate for the city of Tavares, where I adjudicate cases and hear controversies in a quasi-judicial role. Now, it may not come as a surprise to you that disputes between neighbors about the condition of the property next door can get pretty heated. But it's my job to keep things moving, to keep things calm, to listen to both sides and make everybody feel like they got their fair day in court, even in a situation where I had to rule against them, which is very important. And I'm also a small business owner of my own practice. That is very important because I understand efficiency. It's not just an abstract concept to me. I know that time is money. I have signed both sides of a paycheck. I pay business taxes every month. I understand how bad inflation is because as a business owner, I feel it. I understand how expensive health insurance is because I pay for it. And I don't think that every candidate that runs for any public office has to have that experience, but I certainly think it's a positive, and I think we'd be better off as a country if more of them did. Thank you very much. Ben Boylston, Group 20.
Good afternoon. I'm Barbara Kistner-Kwiatkowski. I've been an attorney for 30 years. I have practiced in civil cases, criminal cases, and family cases. In 2006, I was appointed as a hearing officer in the Fifth Circuit, and in 2016, I was appointed as a general magistrate for the Fifth Circuit. A general magistrate's daily duties are essentially the same as a judge. I got assigned cases, I researched the cases, I heard those cases, whether it was a 5-minute hearing or a 5-day trial. I wrote the orders and I solved those problems. Since 2006, I have heard and resolved over 70,000 problems. Experience matters, and I have the experience. I'm also on the faculty of the Florida Judicial College. Every newly elected or appointed magistrate or judge has to attend this special training. Since 2017, I have been teaching classes on contempt, case management, working with interpreters, disqualification, how to run a courtroom, courtroom skills, you name it, I've taught it. In 2023, I was awarded the Faculty Leadership Award for the Florida Judicial College. I had to resign in April to run for this position. That was a big commitment, but I did that because I believe that if there's anything I can do as a citizen, as a magistrate, as an attorney to make this system better and maintain the integrity, I need to do that. Outside of work, I've been married 28 years. I have 3 children. My son just graduated from the Naval Academy, so he's a Marine now, and I'm a proud Marine mom. I also volunteer with my church. I read, and I've taught Sunday school for 10 years, and I'm also involved in Scouts. I'm the District Advancement Chair handling all Eagle Scout applications from Ocala to Live Oak. Thank you. August 20th, Barbara Kistner-Kwiatkowski.
Thank you, Mr. Boylston and Ms. Kistner. We will now have the candidates for the Citrus County Judge position. We have, we have Amber Thomas and Lisa Yeager.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Amber Thomas, and I'm running for County Court Judge. I want to thank all of you guys for coming out here tonight because it allows you to hear the candidates so that you can make an informed decision when you cast your vote on August 20th. I have called Citrus County home for as long as I can remember, and I am honored to raise my son here along with my husband of over 15 years here in the county that I grew up in. My opponent wants you to focus on the years of experience between the two of us. I'm asking you to focus on the depth of experience. My entire legal career I have spent working with the judges as a trial court staff attorney. I began in Hernando County, and then I transferred to Citrus County in 2018, where I continued to work until I had to resign when I qualified to run for this position. I'm currently working as a prosecutor with the Citrus County State Attorney's Office so that I can expand my courtroom experience to better serve the citizens of Citrus County. My entire legal career, for over a decade, I have worked side by side with the judges, giving them vital legal advice in all areas of the law at both the county court and the circuit court levels. I've worked on criminal cases, civil cases, probate cases, family law cases. I've even assisted the Fifth Circuit appellate panel that handled county court appeals until the jurisdiction was given to the 5th DCA. My experience is different because I have trained to work with the judges, not to look at a case from a litigator's point, but to look at a case how the judges see the case. Both sides apply the laws and then make a ruling based on that. As your next county court judge, I pledge to uphold the law with unwavering fairness and integrity. I have a better understanding of how to navigate complex issues in a wide range of cases, and I will use that to look at cases properly. I ask for your vote on August 20th for Amber Thomas, County Judge. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Lisa Yeager, and I'm also running for County Court Judge. I'm going to tell you a little bit about myself. I'm a sixth-generation Floridian. I raised my two children here in Citrus County. My son's a 2020 graduate of Citrus High School. He's an apprentice lineman. My daughter's a 2022 graduate of Citrus High School. She's a senior at the University of Tennessee this year. She will be commissioning in the Army upon her graduation in May. Now, I attended the University of Florida College of Law, because when you're from Florida, what do? You go to UF. Go Gators. Had to, sorry. Summer of 2000, that's when I graduated and began my legal career right here in this county. I worked at the state attorney's office for about 3.5 years. I handled cases ranging from simple driving offenses all the way up to attempted murder. I left, and in almost 10 years, I was in private practice. I handled family law, criminal defense, child custody, dependency, civil, all kinds of different cases. I've done both sides of the law. I returned to the state attorney's office in 2013. I've been there ever since. I'm currently the Citrus County Special Victim Unit prosecutor. I prosecute crimes against children and sex crimes. During my 24 years as an attorney, I've asked numerous judges, what can I do to put myself in the best position to become a judge? They've given me two answers: diversify, do both sides of the law, and number two, courtroom experience. Get in the courtroom. That is what they tell me. Prior to signing up and qualifying for this position, my opponent has never stepped foot in a courtroom. All of her experience has been in an office. 24 years I have been in the courtroom. I have been in the trenches fighting for citizens here in the Fifth Circuit. Ladies and gentlemen, on August 20th, or the early voting, I ask that you get out and vote for me, Lisa Yeager, for your county court judge, second on the ballot, but I am first in experience. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Thomas and Ms. Yeager. We are now going to move to the race for Congress at District 12. It's my understanding that Congressman Gus Bilirakis is unable to attend this evening because he is currently in Washington, D.C. We do have his Republican opponent here this evening, Hank Dunlap. This is a Republican primary where the winner of this primary will face the Democratic nominee in the general election on November 5th. Mr. Dunlap. How are you? Either one, and the questions are going to be asked by Mr. Mac Harris, who will be making his appearance at some point. Where is he? There he is. Okay, let's see what we can do here.
I think I can pull it down a little bit. Thank you. Hello, can you all hear me? Well, Mr. Dunlap, question that was obvious, but why are you running for this office?
My primary reason I'm running is for a monetary reason. Closer? All right, there we go. America's running such a deficit that, and appropriations continue to be passed, and something needs to be done to resolve that. I don't see the timer, but that's my primary reason.
All right.
Fiscal.
All righty. Well, let me ask you, if you were to be elected, what would be your highest priority in office?
That would be is to address the appropriations that are continually being passed. Follow the example of people like Thomas Massey, more conservative, saving money. Something needs to be done. So, I'm sorry. Should I be addressing them? It's my first one, so.
That's okay. That's my first time on a candidate. That's okay, sir.
All right.
One other question here we have is that Florida is currently experiencing sea level rise. We've had unprecedented heat waves, severe storms. What kinds of federal climate policies would benefit Florida? Can't hear me? My apologies. I will ask it again, okay? Florida is currently experiencing sea level rise, unprecedented heat waves, and severe storms. What kinds of federal climate policies would benefit Florida?
Well, you're citing all those issues, but what has happened with the federal government is a lot of the data is coming from agencies and studies that we can no longer trust. The federal government has broke the trust so bad with the American people that we can't trust any of the data that comes out of the federal government. And that's a big thing. When you lose that trust, I don't think they understand how detrimental it's going to be when you can't trust any of the agencies. So I would say look at the data, but I mean, if it's I think we need to regain the trust before we make any decisions on that.
All right. Finally, would you support the continuation of the Affordable Care Act?
No, I would not. But my main platform is to remove the federal government as much as possible from the states or our lives. So I think a lot of those things can be handled on a state level. And besides all of that, my primary platform is there's no more money. We have no more money. The revenue is not even covering the mandatory spending. So all the discretionary spending is all borrowed or printed. So that's a catastrophe waiting to happen, and it's going to come quick. So if that answers your question.
That summarized? Well, thank you so very much
Mac.
for joining us and for sharing with the audience what you believe.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, I could be real boring. I'm going to read some numbers. When Gus took office in 2007, the budget was 2.7. It's now 6.1 trillion dollars. The revenue for that year was 2.6, and it's now 4.4. So 2007 wasn't bad. It had a deficit of $160 billion. And we all know this was 2023's numbers, $1.7 trillion deficit. But the big one is the debt. In 2007, when Gus took office, it was $8.95 trillion, 62.5% of the GDP. Not great. But compared to today's, or 2023's, it's $33.1 trillion. We know that's higher now. That's 119% of the GDP. So that's enough of the boring numbers, but you don't have to be much qualified to do math and see what's coming. So something needs to be done. I think there's good examples that are in Congress right now. I'm not going to claim to know a lot of things that I'm going to need to do, but there's definitely good examples there of how this is going to have to be done, because it's going to crash. It's no secret. So how that plays out, we don't know.
But it would be better if it's controlled through Congress than just the whole, just a catastrophe. So that's pretty much my platform. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. And I appreciate your being here, and I'll turn the mic back over. But she's going to take it away from me.
As a reminder, as we move into this series of races, there are going to be several questions asked in the respective races, with each individual having 1 minute to respond. And we're going to remind you the timekeeper's right here. Hopefully you'll be able to see him. At the conclusion of the questioning, each candidate will have 2 minutes to make a closing statement. With each question, the order of the questioning will be switched back and forth between the candidates. So we'll start with Ms. Baird, and on the second question, we'll start with Ms. Long, back and forth. And for the closings, we'll hear from the candidates in reverse alphabetical order. Our next set of candidates is for the office of Supervisor Elections. They were really excited to get up here, obviously. Asking the questions in this race are Chronicle Executive Editor Jim Gavalis and Editorial Board member Kurt Ebbets. Since this is a universal primary, everyone will be able to vote, and the top vote getter will be the winner of this election. We'll start with the questions.
Thank you. Good evening, Supervisor Baird. Good evening, Ms. Long. Can you hear me now? Okay. Supervisor Baird, what does election integrity at the local level mean to you? How is election integrity measured at the local level?
Thank you, Jim. That's a great question. Election integrity means that every vote counts.
Can you hold the mic a little closer to your mic?
Okay, how about this? Any better? Okay, how about this? Is that better?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, election integrity is measured by your audit reports that you have. We have an audit of the election, and you can audit your election, which proves that the ballot that the voter cast is the ballot that we count. Election integrity counts as the voters go in and cast their ballots, and that we count every ballot that was cast.
Okay. Ms. Long, would you like me to repeat the question? Yes. What does election integrity at the local level mean to you, and how is election integrity measured at the local level?
Election integrity, to me, means that all voters' voices are heard, that everyone is considered equal in their voices, and that they all have the same opportunities to vote and are not disenfranchised. What was the second part of the question?
How is election integrity measured at the local level?
I think in addition to what Ms. Baird said as far as the audits go, there seems to be a lot of disinformation as far as how audits work, and I think that they need to be able to address that so that all voters understand.
Thank you.
The first question will go to the question will go first to Ms. Long. How can a supervisor of elections encourage trust in local, state, and federal elections? Ms. Long.
I think honesty goes a long ways as far as managing that trust. There's a level of understanding that needs to go into that as well. And I'm sorry, can you repeat the question again?
Surely. How can a supervisor of elections encourage trust in local, state, and federal elections?
By providing the paperwork to back up what they're saying. Most voters don't like just hearing that it is this way or that way. They want to see some kind of proof showing the results.
Ms. Baird, would you like me to repeat the question?
Sure. Thank you.
Okay. How can a supervisor of elections encourage trust in local, state, and federal elections?
Thank you, Kurt. The way that you encourage trust in voting is, we vote paper ballots here in Florida. So we have the paper ballots to prove that the election that we counted is the vote that you cast. So after we count our ballots, we also put all the ballots through an audit system. So I have a 100% tabulation of the ballots through the tabulation system, and I have a 100% audit of the election through the audit system. This tells us that the ballots we count are the ballot results that you expect, and that you know that we are counting exactly what we have. We also have all of our processes are transparent. You're open to come in and watch any process that we have in our office. Everything is also reported to the state. We have to hold on to our ballots for 22 months, and we have those ballots to look back at if anybody would ever want to see them. But to encourage that trust is you need to come into our office and learn the processes. Everything we do is by Florida statute. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
This next question goes to Supervisor Baird first. The Electronic Registration Information Center, known as ERIC, is a multi-state exchange of voter registration data to identify voters registered in more than one state, voters who have moved between states, and voters who have died. In 2023, Florida's Department of State officially withdrew from ERIC because of perceived partisanship. Would you support an effort in Florida to return to ERIC? Why or why not?
Thank you. I would support ERIC. ERIC helped us clean our voter files. It compares voter registration data from Citrus County and all the counties in Florida to 30 other states. So if people were to be deceased in another state, as well as, and then where they were registered in Florida, we could get that information. If they were felons in other states, if they registered to vote in other states, and or if they voted in another state. So I would be for implementing ERIC again.
Thank you. Ms. Long, would like you to repeat the question? Okay. The Electronic Registration Information Center, known as ERIC, is a multi-state exchange of voter registration data to identify voters registered in more than one state, voters who have moved between states, and voters who have died. In 2023, Florida's Department of State officially withdrew from ERIC because of perceived partisanship. Would you support an effort in Florida to return to ERIC? Why or why not?
Obviously, if they moved away from ERIC, from nonpartisanship, they had very good reason for doing so. However, it was such a comprehensive system that I am not aware of them having anything comparable to that system. So I would be in favor of reinstating it as it is more of a like I said, comprehensive system, and I don't believe there's anything else that is available at this time.
Thank you.
Okay, the last question for the two supervisor of election candidates is a quick yes or no question for both candidates. And we will begin with Ms. Long. Given the mission of the Supervisor of Elections Office, do you support vote by mail for all elections? Ms. Long?
Yes, I do. I feel that with vote by mail, it provides. Did you want just a yes or no, or did you want me to elaborate?
Just a yes or no would be fine.
Okay, then yes.
Ms. Barrett?
Yes, I support vote by mail.
Thank you.
And we'll now have closing statements, starting with Ms. Long, followed by Ms. Beard.
Once again, my name is Tiffany Long, and I'm a candidate for Supervisor of Elections. Our community deserves an election process that is transparent, audible, and verifiable. I am committed to ensuring every vote counts and every voice is heard. I also believe in fostering a workplace environment that values civility and respect. By promoting a positive atmosphere, we can increase employee retention and improve performance, making our elections office a model of efficiency and integrity. Moreover, I aim to encourage civic involvement. Our state offers excellent programs to engage citizens in the electoral process, and I plan to leverage these resources to strengthen our democracy. Together, we can make our elections fair, our workplaces respectful, and our community engaged. Thank you, and I humbly ask for your vote on August 20th for Supervisor of Elections. For more information about my campaign, please visit votelong.com. Thank you.
Well, hello. I am Maureen Mobaird, and I am your Supervisor of Elections. Thank you. But today I'm here as a candidate for Supervisor of Elections. And so it's a little different story today because I'm not used to being a candidate. I'm used to being your Supervisor of Elections. I was voted into office by the electors of Citrus County in August of 2020. I want to humbly thank you for the trust that you have placed in me to bring you the most accurate and secure elections home here to Citrus County. Secure elections happens because of dedication, commitment, and hard work from my staff and I. Since 2021, we have successfully ran 3 county and federal elections. My priorities include election integrity, education, cybersecurity, and the trust of voters. I am both state and nationally certified as an election administrator with decades of hands-on involvement in the successful operations and management of elections. My specialty in elections is tabulation and auditing. I have successfully organized over 85 elections right here in Citrus County. One strength is my experience that lends the ability to see the big picture and adapt to constant changes while implementing new election laws. Since 2021, I have brought thousands of dollars in federal no-match grants for physical and cybersecurity right here to our local elections office and will continue this effort. Almost 4 years ago, I started a weekly outreach event in our community that has allowed to strengthen the communication and education with voters. Please remember there's 3 ways to vote. You can vote by mail, you can vote early, or you can vote on election day. But please vote. Most of your officials will be voted in on August the 20th. I kindly ask for your vote for Maureen Mobaird for Supervisor of Elections on August the 20th. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Baird and Ms. Long. The next race is for School Board Seat 2, and maybe before the candidates come up, we can announce some people in the audience. We've got some people that are going to be on the ballot in November. They're not here because their name isn't until November. We have Commissioner Holly Davis, if you'd like to stand. We have Mosquito Control Seat 2, Stephanie Adams and John Sino. We have State House of Representatives J.J. Grow and Judith Fowles. And not on the ballot this year, but present tonight is Commissioner Rebecca Bays. Our school board candidates for Seat 2 are Ken Frink, Laura Gatling-Wright, Dale Marie Merrill, and Victoria Smith. This is an open seat on the Citrus County School Board District 2, and it's a nonpartisan race. Everyone can vote in this primary. If no candidate receives 50% plus one vote in this primary, the two top vote getters, their names will appear on the November ballot. Asking the questions this evening are Editorial Board members Tier Alexander and Don Hires.
All right, Mr. Ken, we're going to start with you for this one. As is now permitted under the newly signed House Bill 931 School Chaplains Bill, would you support adding voluntary school chaplains to Citrus County Public Schools? Why or why not?
I would certainly, if it was voluntary, I would certainly support that. And the reason I would do that is because it's a decision of the parents, it's a decision of the students, and if that's something that they want, I would support that being in the schools. In a private setting now, not something that's public. So if they want to meet in a private room and do that, then that should be up to them.
Laura?
Can you repeat the question? Sorry.
Yep. As is now permitted under the newly signed House Bill 931 School Chaplains Bill, would you support adding voluntary school chaplains to Citrus County schools? Why or why not?
I would say yes, because once again, if that is a parent choice and we have parent permission, then that is something that once again falls under parental rights, and we don't want to take away from that. And we want to make sure that students have that accessibility if that's something that they do desire. And we have to also keep in mind, though, that we respect that there may be other religions, so just keep in mind that there may be chaplains for other religions as well, and that if you allow one chaplain in, you have to be ready to invite others in. Thank you.
Yes, I would agree with it under the provisions that parents have the option of opting out, because I think it's very, very important that parents are very involved. I think that we need to have the flexibility of different religions being able to have a chaplain of their specific religion for the parents to follow and have their religion followed. I believe very strongly in the Constitution and freedom of religion, and that we all have a right to freedom of religion, and as long as it doesn't trespass on anybody's right of freedom of religion, I think that that's very important.
I also agree that it is fine to have volunteers come into our volunteer chaplains come to our schools. Right now, we currently have that going on in our schools. They come in before school, and so as long as it's before school or after school, and also too, you give the opportunity if another religion wants to come in, that they also have that opportunity to come in before school or after school. So I'm also for that.
What steps should the district take to ease the current shortage of teachers and bus drivers? Is discipline an issue? Laura, we'll start with you with this one.
So yes, I think discipline is an issue. That's something that I know personally, and I know other teachers have dealt with personally. That is something that we hear from our own children often, is that we have a disruption in the classroom or their classroom was evacuated. That takes away from their educational experience. That takes away from their quality education, and it puts more burden on the teacher, and they're there to teach. So yes, I do think that is an issue, and I would address that by mainly with staffing, because we have overcrowded classrooms, and that's overburdening the workload for the teacher, and that's of course just becoming a melting pot of more instances of behaviors to occur. So I agree with staffing. I agree with also starting at the elementary level for early intervention. Currently, we have one guidance counselor for every elementary school and traveling social workers. I think we need to have at least two guidance counselors for every elementary school to help those students, especially at those younger ages, so maybe we can deflect behavior problems from the middle school and high school, at least help, alleviate it. There might still be there, but it may not be as detrimental. Thank you.
Behavioral health is the biggest issue that we face in our schools. We need to address this. It's critical in terms of retaining good teachers. It's critical in terms of the work lives of all of the employees who work in the school system. As many of you know, while I'm an attorney, I took time off in order to substitute teach so I could walk the halls and find out what's happening in the schoolrooms. And I was really pretty appalled by some of the behavior management issues. I believe that we need to think about the fact that while children have a right to the least restrictive setting, when the child is really disrupting the rest of the classroom, preventing the rest of the classroom from learning, we need to be thinking about moving that child to another environment. Also, you have the issue of children who wind up committing crimes, and a few years after, they're into a jail cell. So if they're winding up in a jail cell, 2, 3, 4 years later, they weren't in the least restrictive setting. And we need to really work on that issue, work on behavior management in our schools. I think that's the most important issue that our school systems face. When you look at the fact that...
Can you repeat the question, please? Mm-hmm. What steps should the district take to ease the current shortage of teachers and bus drivers? Is discipline an issue?
Okay, so first of all, yes, we do have a discipline issue happening in our schools, especially in the elementary level. What we don't have is we don't have our social workers in every class, in every school. Our kindergarten has aides right now this last school year, but they don't have aides soon, going to be in every kindergarten class. On our buses, we don't have a bus aide on every bus helping out. So we have some routes that we can address, and how to do that, we can make sure that we have the proper staff. But I will tell you, with staffing, we also have to make sure that we have the proper money put into place, and so to bring it down, so that way we can have those teachers and the support staff at our district school level to help with our discipline issues, and also bring in more training for our staff.
The answer is yes. Discipline is definitely an issue. Folks, we're losing almost 140 teachers a year due to both resignation, retirement, and whatnot. That's unacceptable. The good news is we've got 183 following behind them, so the net gain is about 42 a year. But definitely discipline is an issue, and what I would promote is changing school policies, doing a deep dive, looking at our school policies, and allowing our teachers to have more control of their classrooms. Right now, the classroom control is so far above their head, it just irks at their job satisfaction. So the number one thing to keeping teachers employed is keeping them happy. I'd also like to introduce a teachers academy where we're homegrowing our teachers from within. Let our school system train our teachers, and coupled with our college, we could probably have these teachers coming, or students coming out of school ready to teach almost on day one.
Good evening. There are 4 questions, and I have the pleasure of asking the third and fourth question. And I'll begin with Ms. Merrill, since she is third on the dais here. Ms. Merrill, can you describe the most important responsibility of school board members? That's a rather broad question, but we would like to hear that.
Sure. School board is a strategic position. It isn't tactical. School board needs to go out there, and they're a quasi-judicial board. School board oversees such things as expulsion hearings, reviews of employee disciplinary hearings. That's all the kind of things that lawyers live and breathe. And in addition to that, they look at contract issues. They look at negotiations. Those are all issues that are very important. Again, that's the kind of stuff that lawyers live and breathe. There's very little curriculum work that's done on the school board. We have committees. Actually, our state mandates what the curriculum is going to be. And then we have additional committees that look at what our textbook's going to be within the line of looking at what is needed. But so we really are, have to look at the fact that we are quasi-judicial and that we are really business legal issues are what's important.
I'm going to stand because I think better because I'm a teacher. So, yes, the most important thing is that we deal with the policies. We formulate the policies. We're the ones that bring it to the superintendent, and then the superintendent and the board decides on that policy if that's good. And then also the superintendent will bring forward to us recommendations. But our number one thing is policy is for our students, making sure that our students are in a safe environment. And right now, the policies that are in place are not the ones that we should be using for our students. We can make some changes in our policy for discipline, for our making sure that our students are not being bullied, and making sure that our staffs are protected. So yes, our most important thing is our policies.
Statutorily, the school board is responsible to set policy and pass the budget. Two simple things. But in order to do that effectively, number one, when the superintendent brings forward policy changes, I, as a school board member, I will be doing deep dives, looking at these policies and asking the tough questions as to why are we doing this? Why can't we do this better? Why can't we set policies that gives more control to the teachers and allow them to manage the classrooms? And secondly is the budget. I will watch over your tax dollars like a hawk. I've been doing this for my entire career, managing very large budgets, and the budget of the school board is one of the largest in this county, over $300 million a year, and I am the person that knows how to look at those budgets, set those budgets, and look for areas where we can save money, save your tax dollars.
So yes, sorry. The job of the school board is policy and budget, and that is really a checks and balance system for the superintendent because they're the ones that are managing it, and it's like one person, and they bring it to the board to approve or disapprove the budget and the policies and to ask those questions to make clarification because we're here to serve the public. We're here to make sure that the public understands where your money is being spent. We're here to make sure the public understands what the policies are being read as. We're also here to make sure that we are adhering to legislation as well and that we are making that language clear for our staff and teachers. That way we don't have any legality issues that could cost the taxpayer dollars in ugly, messy fights. So that is our job as stewards of the taxpayer's dollar and also the checks and balance system of superintendent. It's your budget and policy and putting your money to good use. Thank you.
All right, the final question will begin with Ms. Smith, and that's this year the Citrus County School Boards earned a B grade. What will it take to elevate that to an A grade?
Okay, so first of all, for a B grade, you have to make sure that your testing scores are coming in and that you're having to where the students are passing their test effectively. Secondly is making sure our students are graduating. And then, of course, the other aspect is making sure that our students are coming into tests, so that's attendance policy as well with that. Well, we can have training out there. I will brag a little bit. My scores have always been one of the highest before for state. So there can be training out there to help with our students to improve, with our teachers to improve that, as well as making sure that we are going out and getting all the students to participate and to come to school. That's the number one. We have to try to get them here and come to school so that way they are learning, because we have too many students that are absent and are missing school.
Do you want me to repeat the question?
No, you don't need to. Thank you, though. The good news is it's improving over last year. So last year our scores have increased by 4%. So we're heading in the right direction. And the canary in the coal mine is what's going on with our third grade students. The number of kids that are having trouble in the third grade has dropped this year lower than the state average. So we are definitely headed in the right direction. But how do we keep that momentum going? Because that's the most important thing, is we don't want to stop. And that is having qualified, satisfied teachers at work. I'm a strong proponent of making sure our teachers are well taken care of, both financially, and I want to make sure that they're taken care of in the classroom to where they know that the administrators have their back and they can do their job and make decisions that right now they're not being able to do.
So right now, we have a capacity issue. We've heard about oversized classrooms where there's multiple students in like the 20s to 30s range for classrooms. I know parents hear it. I hear it. My son was in a classroom with 27 kids. It's a lot, especially when it's one teacher and there aren't aides, there aren't specialists in the classroom to help with students when you have a flurry of needs that need to be addressed. And that is something that does boil down to staffing. We want smaller classroom sizes. It is like the number one evidence-based research that shows that that is going to help provide quality education. It lowers the workload for the teacher, it provides one-on-one instruction, and you're able to help target those individual needs. So I do believe it does take staffing to make this happen, and in order to have staffing, we need to be creative when it comes to recruitment and retention for our teachers, and that is supporting them, that is finding ways to make them want to work in Citrus County, even if it means like affordable insurance, childcare options. We need to make sure that teachers want to work here. Thank you.
Citrus County, unlike many other areas, does not have some schools that are in one neighborhood that are Taj Mahal schools and other areas that are crumbling down in other areas. All of our children go to all of the schools. So those numbers aren't necessarily, and grading isn't necessarily reflective of what's really happening in Citrus County. But we really need to look at how are we testing these children. What we really need to be thinking about is moving forward with issues such as portfolio testing children. Having a child who can't necessarily test well be able to present a portfolio of their work so their teacher can say, this child really does understand this, they just are not a good tester. We also need to think about improving reading scores throughout our school system. Reading is the number one indicator of whether a person is going to end up in prison or be a successful member of society. So we need to look at that issue. Overall, behavioral health is perhaps the biggest issue we face in terms of trying to elevate the level of our schools. You need to remove the children who are disruptive from the classroom so regular education children can benefit from the school system, and also put those children in a program where they can be effective and effectively learn.
Thank you. That's it. Thank you.
Alrighty, we'll hear closing statements from you in reverse order. So Ms. Smith, then Ms. Merrill, then Ms. Gatling-Wright, and Mr. Frank.
I am the most qualified candidate for this position with over 25 years of experience as the only current teacher in our school system. I bring a wealth of knowledge and dedication. I hold a master's degree in education and have served as the president of the Citrus County Education Association for over 10 years. My personal investment in our school run deep. I have 2 grandchildren that are in our school system here in Citrus County. So I have a care. I have a heart for our school system. I know how to effectively reallocate funds to ensure adequate resources for staff who interact with students daily. I'm adept at educating our staff to recognize and address bullying, fostering a safer and more supportive environment for our students. I am committed to bridging the gap between our students and the community workforce, ensuring that they are prepared for future success. I know how to revise policies to provide the necessary support for our educators, enabling them to teach our students effectively. My approach emphasizes understanding and meeting educational standards, rather than just simply passing a student based on merit and with minimal effort. Throughout my career, I consistently advocated for both the students and staff at local and state levels. I love our public schools. I am ready to make a positive impact from day one. Vote for me, Victoria Smith, August 20th. I am ready day one.
First, I'd like to introduce my family who's with me tonight. There's 4 generations of us. My 92-year-old mother, however, she keeps on telling me she's 29, but I think she's a little math lexic. And then there's my daughter Julia, who is my inspiration for running, and my granddaughter Isabella, who you could hear her out there. She's 7 months, but she kept on saying, "Vote for my grandma." Anyways, I'm Dale Merrill, and I'm running for school board because I believe in better behavioral health. I'm the only candidate with a complete background in order to be effective in this position. I've been an attorney for 26 years. I have managed offices throughout, and sales offices prior to that for 20 years throughout Europe, Mexico, Canada, and United States. So I've got large project management experience, which we're going to need as we go forward with our growth. I also taught. I taught years ago when I first got out of school. In addition to that, I also gave up billable hours recently in order to go into our school systems and find out what's happening and substitute teach. And I learned a lot from that. My education includes a bachelor's in English, a master's in American Studies, an MBA in Management Strategy and Marketing Operations, and a CSS in Management, and I also have a Juris Doctorate. As I said earlier, the role of being in the school board is strategic. It's a quasi-judicial role. It's a business management role, and I have that kind of experience. I also been volunteering for years in our community, working with groups, being on the board. Thank you. Please vote for me, Dale Merrill.
I got one. Just trying to hand me the mic. Hi, I'm Laura Gatling-Wright. I'm also running for Citrus County School Board District 2, and the reason why is because this is my home, this is my community. I was born and raised here. I'm right now raising third generation of Gatling-Wright kids. I'm hyphenated, so that was like alarming. Like, what is their last name? They're right. But they're currently in public schools because I love the public schools here, because I grew up here. I had a wonderful experience with the public schools here, and that's what I want for my kids, and I'm a little selfish for that because I think like any parent, you just want what's best for your kids, and I think not wanting what's best for my kids also means wanting what's best for your kids, because I am also the true representation of the growing demographic coming to this area, which is unique to Florida, and that is the 30 to 45-year-olds coming here. They're coming in here with families. They're going to have the same concerns and interests as I am, and because you are on the school board, you are serving the public, and that is a representation that I can be for them with their needs and interests as well. I have a master's in educational leadership. I have taught here for 15 years through elementary, middle school. Every walk of life has been through my door, and I welcome them with compassion and understanding, and I think that is definitely necessary, while also working with teachers and making sure that they get what they need, because once again, it's about doing what's best for our community, and that's taking care of our students with providing them with quality educators, because at the end of the day, we want these kids to come back and be a part of our community as well, and they deserve quality education, and they deserve a safe education, and that's something that I'm just advocating for, because once again, it's my home, I care, and I want to make sure that the kids, when they grow up, they take care of me really well. Thank you. Once again, Laura Gatling-Wright, August 20th, thank you so much.
I'd like to start by painting a picture. This picture is out of focus and without boundaries. Citrus County is on the verge of unimaginable growth. Every day, 1,000 people move to our state, many headed our way. Our school system is not immune to the effects of this. We have to be prepared for it. I am the candidate with the experience to help our school system manage this growth. I bring decades of experience in planning and managing expansions in roadways, utilities, public transportation, and facilities from my time as Assistant County Administrator. As the former city manager for Crystal River, I also saw critical public projects and set groundbreaking policies. I've managed budgets in the hundreds of millions compared to our school systems. Planning for growth must include ensuring that our teachers, bus drivers, and support staff are well prepared and secure in their jobs. Throughout my career, I've always focused on creating a happy workforce, because that directly correlates to job retention, job satisfaction, and in the end, a better experience for our students and for our parents. Why is serving on the school board so important to me? It's about our kids. It's about their future. It's about our future. Our school system has been incredibly good for me and my family. We've all succeeded thanks to the preparations we receive from our schools. And I've got a real-world example for you. My daughter, Kaya, in the back of the room there, wave, Kaya. Thank you. Kai graduated from Lecanto High School in 2020 from the IB program. She recently earned a bachelor's degree in kinesiology from the University of Central Florida. And guess what, folks? She was so well prepared, she found that a breeze. Now she's been accepted into the master's program and will start classes this fall. Kai made the drive up here tonight to help me illustrate that point. Like all of our kids, that's our future, and I owe a debt of gratitude to our school system for that. Thank you, and I ask for your vote on August the 20th, and remember to think Frank.
Thank you, candidates. Well, we're rearranging. Also in the audience tonight is our property appraiser, Craig Dalton. You didn't see his name on the, where is he? You didn't see his name on the, you won't see his name on the primary ballot or the November because he ran unopposed, no one ran against him. This next race is for the Superintendent of Schools. It's a universal primary. That means everybody can vote in the race, and the winner will be determined at this primary election. Again, asking questions are Tiara Alexander and Don Hires. I'm sorry. Our candidates are Scott Hebert and Jason Kuhn.
All right, the first question is going to be a why or why not question, and it involves the current school board policies and parental rights. So the question is, are you satisfied that the current school board policies for instruction and materials balance parental rights with the needs of all students? Dr. Hebert?
So we have a policy that's in place right now that focuses on providing opportunities for families to engage with understanding what the curriculum is and to provide input on what those resources are that we have. So those policies that we have, to me, are aligned to our local community. I think it's important that the policies that we develop, the policies that we have, are aligned to our local needs and our local community. We don't need the federal government coming in and giving us direction of what needs to happen. Our community is what's important, and that's how we need to drive the decisions. So to answer the question, I believe it's important that we have a great policy, but those policies are continued to be updated each year. I serve on that Policy Informs Committee, and we have an opportunity to review those policies and make decisions of what's best for our students and our school system.
Mr. Kuhn, would you like me to repeat it? Sure. Okay. Are you satisfied that the current school board policies for instruction and materials balance parental rights with the needs of all students?
Well, first and foremost, when it comes to the parental rights piece, we always want our parents to have that input in what is going on in our school system. However, having a process and a system that supports and protects our teachers and our staff is the utmost importance. We have to make sure that the process in place for our teachers and staff are supportive, that it doesn't scare them off, that they feel supported, and that parents also feel that they have a voice in what the education of their child is being taught. So yes, I do agree with that parental rights piece, and I would look to enhance it and go back to it every single year to make sure that it's something that is supportive right in every classroom in our school district.
All right, and now we'll begin with you first, Mr. Kuhn, and we're going to talk about student well-being and behavior. These are directly related to academic achievement. How would you address overall student well-being at all levels?
Well, first and foremost, we look at our surveys. Every single school goes through a survey each year. We look at those surveys, and they give us a lot of information about how we need to make changes and address systems within our school. Every single school has a particular culture that is particular to that school. We want to protect that culture, but at the same time, we have to make sure that we have systems where all the arrows are pointed the same way and we have consistency across the district. That's what protects students when it comes to their well-being. That's what helps students be successful in the classroom. It helps them be engaged in the classroom. And when those arrows are not pointing in the same directions, systems are broken, and it affects our culture, leadership, and instruction.
Do you want me to repeat it?
Nope, I'm good. Thank you. Thank you very much. So behavior is an issue that I have heard as I've been out in our schools, because part of my job as the assistant superintendent is to be connected, involved with what's happening in our school district. So as I've worked with teachers and staff, I've heard about behavior issues. So one of the things that I've done is I've convened a group this past summer where we've met with teachers and support staff to come up with what's happening in the classroom and what are some ideas from the grassroots. What's happening in the classroom and what are some ideas that we can do to change some of those behaviors and support some of the work that's happening. I've also had the opportunity to ride on a bus and truly see what some of the challenges our drivers have to face each and every day driving those students back and forth to school. So I think it's important that we listen to our staff, we understand our staff, and we come up with viable solutions that make sense. As superintendent, I would continue that committee throughout my career and listen to those staff members throughout the year. Thank you.
All right, Tara.
What steps should the district take to ease the current shortage of bus drivers and teachers?
So staffing is an issue that we are facing in our district, and I will tell you that is not just a district issue, that is a national issue. As I've spoken to various organizations in this community, I hear that it's also an issue in our local businesses and community. We have to make sure that we're providing our teachers and staff the necessary resources and support that they have. Salary is one area. We've done that already with our bus drivers. We've increased their salary. We are working with our current negotiating team to determine salary increases for our teachers and our support staff. But on top of that, we have to make sure that we're providing the best education possible for our kids. We want to make sure that the teachers and staff that come to our school feel appreciated and feel supported. My grandson is entering kindergarten this year, and I want to make sure that we pave the way for him to have a successful future, as well as the 16,000 other students in our school district.
Want me to repeat it? What steps should the district take to ease the current shortage of bus drivers and teachers?
So let's be honest. We do not talk about retention when students and staff feel supported and they're successful. So if we turn the ship around a little bit and we start supporting these bus drivers, we support our teachers, we don't have retention problems. We ensure success in our schools. We ensure that students are being engaged in class. Kids don't misbehave when they're engaged in a classroom. They misbehave when they are bored, when they feel that there's no end in sight. When they feel failure is upon them. We want to support our teachers, support our staff. Kids feel safe. We won't be worried about retaining teachers and bus drivers. Our bus drivers will feel supported under my leadership. I didn't ride a bus because I deal with those bus issues every single day as a school leader.
Okay, Mr. Kuhn, this one will start with you. Many concerns have been brought up about students with mental health challenges that result in challenging behavior both in and out of school. How would you describe an effective model for intervention?
So mental health, when it comes to misbehavior, sometimes these kids are coming up with traumatic experiences that have not happened just recently. They could have happened months or years ago, and then we start to feel the effect of these traumatic experiences. We need to make sure that we have experienced staff, training for teachers, training for our guidance counselors that are acting as mental health counselors throughout the day. And when it comes to our school psychologists, that we have an amount of them that can address these issues, that can talk to these kids, talk to parents about the resources outside of the school system that are not available inside our school system. And when we identify what those systems are that we don't have in our school, let's look and see how we can bring those in, readjust, balance the equation, and bring those services in that will help our students and in return help our teachers and support staff.
Dr. Hubert.
So with regard to mental health challenges, that is an area of concern that we have in our district and our community. If you didn't know, we have close to 70% of our students that are economically disadvantaged. And that means those students go home sometimes and may not know where the food's coming from and may not come from a family that has the support systems necessary. We have to provide that within our school system. We have a variety of options in our school system, such as our school psychologist. This year, due to the nature of needing that, we used our mental health allocation, and we are hiring an additional school psychologist to provide support for our students. Additionally, our social workers that are out and about, those social workers go visit homes, they go to the classrooms, and they go visit and support families. We need to continue to enhance those services and provide that support. And all of that we have to do because at the end of the day, what's the most important decision we have to make? How to best support our kids and what we can do to support our families in this community. That's what we need to be doing.
Thank you.
Thank you. We'll now have a closing statement, starting with Mr. Kuhn and then over to Mr. Hebert.
So hello, Citrus County. I'm Jason Kuhn. I've been a resident of Citrus County for 20 years, more than 20 years. I came to here when I was in the 7th grade. I've lived in this county my entire life. I'm not a part of external organizations and board members of these things because that's not what's going to help me know the pulse of our community. I know the pulse of our community because I've lived here my entire life. I didn't implant myself. I didn't settle here. I came here when I was 12 years old, and I've been here ever since. I'm a product of our school system. I graduated from Citrus High School. I went away and came back, and I've been a leader at multiple levels in our school district. I am a relevant leader. I deal with the problems every single day. They don't get reported to me. I deal with them. The parents, I talk to the parents at our schools. I talk to students. I talk to teachers. The problems that exist that superintendents and school boards are going to face, I'm dealing with on a daily basis. When we talk about titles, I don't have the titles of this man. But let me tell you about one of our superintendents that was named Superintendent of the Year in 2020 for the entire state of Florida. Sandra Sam Himmel was not a principal. She was not a director. She was not a chief academic officer or a superintendent of anything. She was a community leader. She connected with the community. She led this community, and in return, led our school district for 20 straight years. Hello, I'm Jason Kuhn, and I will be your next superintendent of Citrus County Schools.
So first tonight, I'd like to recognize my mom, my wife, my children, and my grandson Cam for supporting me. Sarah and I have been married for 34 years, and we have dedicated 68 years of our lives to the children and families of Citrus County Public Schools. I am a conservative Republican. I grew up on a dairy farm and learned the values of hard work, honesty, and treating others with respect. I started my career as a teacher, was a guidance counselor, assistant principal, director, chief academic officer, and now I serve as your assistant superintendent of schools. Thank you. As the assistant superintendent and as a principal of 2 successful schools, I did think I knew everything. I thought I know how to run the district, till I came to the district and I realized how complex it really is. As assistant superintendent, I oversee a $320 million budget. We have 24 school sites. There's 135 buses traveling 16,000 miles on the road, and if you didn't know it, we have the largest restaurant in Citrus County serving 1.7 million meals annually. And yes, I believe that a leader needs to be involved in the community. I'm that leader. I'm engaged in our schools, but I'm engaged in the community. I first serve on the foundation, Citrus County Blessings. I serve on the Suncoast YMCA. I'm a member of Inverse Rotary, and I'm a recent graduate of Leadership Citrus. And Superintendent Himmel has been the leader for the past 20 years, and I have received her endorsement to serve as your next superintendent, the most qualified candidate. And I thank her for that because I've worked alongside her every step of the way as I've moved up the ladder in this district. As superintendent, we will focus on the basics. We will continue to expand career and technical education, and we will hold the students accountable. I wake up every morning and I think about the 16,000 students, the 2,400 employees, and I think about what I can do to support them. I love this country, I love this county, I love this community, and I'd love to be your next superintendent. God bless.
Thank you, Mr. Hebert and Mr. Kuhn. We're now. Already did.
Okay, you hit everybody?
Yes. We are now moving to the county commission races. Seat 1 is also a universal race. Everyone will see this race on their ballot, and the highest vote getter will serve as our county commissioner for the next 4 years. Incumbent Jeff Kennard is facing challenger Curtis Bryant. Mr. Bryant, you want to raise your hand? And Mr. Kennard? Asking the questions in this race are Executive Editor Jim Gavalis and Roger Krieger.
Good evening, gentlemen. Good evening, gentlemen. While I was waiting my turn here, I started to think that if I had $1 for every time the word growth appeared in sound off or letters to the editor, I think I could pave all the roads in Citrus County. So the first question goes to you, Mr. Bryant. As the county experiences explosive growth, the need for development, how do we protect our natural resources? Because both of those things are important to Citrus County. How would you weigh these needs when you evaluate new development proposals?
So the most important thing with this is we have a comprehensive plan. So the comprehensive plan was created to kind of guide the growth in the county, and a lot of that was based on the natural resources that we have, the water, the natural resources, the things of that nature. So all the growth that we're seeing in the county with the comprehensive plan is designed to go to a certain position. So we need to make sure that we're following comprehensive plan. Far too often that we're seeing with the county commission is they're approving projects that go against that plan, whether it's zoning increases for density, setbacks, and things of that nature. So we need to make sure that we follow the comprehensive plan and make sure that we hold developers to the property that they purchased with the densities that come with that.
Commissioner Kennard?
Yes, the comprehensive plan is a plan that guides the development of our county, not over the next year or two, but over decades. When these developers come in and they ask for permission to do something different than the rights they currently have on a piece of property, that's the opportunity for the county commission and the public to get that developer to partner with us in protecting our natural resources and expanding parks and building needed infrastructure so that the current residents of the county are not the ones responsible for that. These developments that are coming through the county commission, coming through staff and the PDC, have build-outs typically in the 10 to 20 years, sometimes longer than that time frame. And this is the opportunity now to make them, to help develop our community into what we want it to look like 25, 30 years from now.
Thank you.
We didn't think about the height difference between myself and Jim. What are the two most important ways that the Board of County Commissioners should address homelessness in Citrus County?
Well, we were already starting one of them, and actually I was the one that championed this, working together, partnering with Hernando County as well as the state of Florida. Citrus County will have a state-of-the-art mental health care facility right here in our own community. That LifeStream is going to fund the majority of it. Citrus County's paying a portion, Hernando County's paying a portion, and the state's paying a portion. We cannot just simply address a homelessness issue without addressing the mental health care part of that. We are doing it. I championed this for the last year and a half or so through the County Commission, working with LifeStream and our partners. Then we can talk about how can we partner with these facilities that already exist in the private world and the nonprofits that are running shelters, that are running food banks. Let's identify that population that we need to get into the mental health care facilities that we'll have available to them. Once we can do that, we can help them and hopefully move them into more permanent housing situation.
Mr. Bryant?
So my view on this is that we need to work with the private industry to help them create ways that they can help the citizens. I feel that the private industry has better connections to the people that can help do that. And I think the government's role in that is to provide whether it's resources or help them apply for grants and different funding opportunities to help them to be able to do their vision and to be able to help the citizens of Citrus County homeless population.
Mr. Bryant, Hernando County has successfully enacted a fertilizer ordinance to include restrictions on rainy season applications to grass lawns. Would you support a similar revision to the fertilizer ordinance in Citrus during the rainy season? Why or why not?
Absolutely. I think big issues with a lot of what we're seeing in the Nature Coast is that the water runoffs into the rivers and things of that nature. We can think back not too far past the US 19. We saw a lot of drainage issues with the US 19. The runoff from the water or from the road went into the waterways, Halls River Road in particular. So I would be all for an ordinance to protect Citrus County waters. A lot of the runoff from the fertilizer that ordinance would allow us to control some of that issues there. Further, I would encourage developers that are coming to Citrus County, rather than using grass and things of that nature, maybe we look at alternative options for landscaping, different ways to reduce the need for fertilizers and to reduce the need to keep the green grass for those properties.
Thank you. Commissioner Kennard?
No, I wouldn't support that yet, and here's the reason why. The state legislature put into place a moratorium. The state legislature put into place a moratorium on these local ordinances until they had IFAS from the University of Florida study the effects of these ordinances, whether or not these nutrients were actually getting down into the aquifer, whether or not these ordinances were effective. IFAS from the University of Florida, after they completed their research, they determined that the science is not there yet to determine whether or not these things are actually happening. So am I opposed to it? No, I'm not opposed to it. But let's do this in a scientific manner. Let's make sure that before we just put in unnecessary regulation and ordinances, that it's going to work, it's going to decrease the nitrates in our aquifer, then we can talk about putting into place an ordinance. The science behind controlling stormwater is working, it's changing. We're focused more now on retaining the nutrients, less on retaining the first 3/4 of an inch of water or the first inch of water.
Thank you.
How should the Board of County Commissioners address the issue of affordable workforce housing for residents such as teachers, nurses, firefighters, police, etc.? Commissioner Kennard?
We've actually been working on that as well. The comp plan, as it's written right now, the comp plan was written in 1989 and adopted in 1990. At that time, the comp plan, the writers of the comp plan did not contemplate the Suncoast Parkway, a major limited access highway traversing right through our community. It didn't contemplate the COVID and the influx of people moving to the state of Florida. We need to take a look at the comp plan. We need to identify areas of the county where we can have higher density development. We can incentivize private development of these facilities. Private developers, private enterprise has access to a lot more money than what county government does. We hear that over and over again. There's simply not enough public money, but if we lay the groundwork for it, private developers will move in to satisfy the demand that's out there.
Mr. Bryant?
So I believe this is a zoning issue. If we look at the comprehensive plan in Citrus County, there's only about 250 acres that are dedicated to high-density residential properties. That's out of the hundreds of thousands of acres that we have here in Citrus County. So there's a shortage of those properties available for these builders to come in. So what we're seeing in the county level is all of these developments coming in, and the argument is that the more houses that are built, the cheaper things get. However, what we're doing with these developments is we're creating mixed-use developments. I did research and looked throughout the state of Florida. I can't find a single area where mixed-use developments reduces the housing costs for the citizens. So I feel that we need to review the comprehensive plan, look at areas that we can dedicate to these high-density residential areas, and then allow incentives, whether it's tax credits or impact fee credits, to encourage those developers to come to those areas and build in those areas.
Mr. Bryant, the county has committed $2 million for the construction of a mental health facility. What do you think are the next steps the county should take to address mental health issues in our community?
Well, we took the first step, and that was creating the facility. I think the second step is we need to partner with Livestream and make sure that the services that they're providing, the doctors they're providing, meet the needs of Citrus County. To my knowledge, I don't think we have the dedicated doctoral staff that we need to address some of those issues. So we can have the facility, that's great, but if we don't have the doctors in place to help the citizens of Citrus County with what they need, then that doesn't help anybody.
Commissioner?
Again, I've been very involved with this. I can tell you that Livestream would love to have a full-time psychiatrist right here in our county. They're willing to go the distance to do what it takes to make that happen. The problem is they are limited by state law how much they can actually pay a psychiatrist, how much they can pay their full-time physician. So what we need to do, and there's already discussions going on about this, is to go to the hospital trustees, get them to commit so much money to an account that will produce enough interest off of that account in perpetuity to be able to supplement what Livestream can pay and ultimately get us a full-time psychiatrist here in the county once that facility is built.
Thank you.
This is supposed to be a quick yes/no answer. The current Board of County Commissioners is considering using a municipal services taxing unit, MSTU, to help pay for law enforcement for Citrus County. If enacted, an MSTU would separate the sheriff's budget from the county budget. Residents would see a separate line and separate millage for law enforcement on their tax bill. If elected, would you support an MSTU for funding of the Citrus County Sheriff's Office? Mr. Kennard?
As it stands right now, no. And here's the reason why. Because both of our cities have not been brought into the conversation. We have to make sure that the city of Crystal River and the city of Inverness are on board long before the county commission makes a decision and then takes it to the cities and says, you need to do this with us. See, the way that it works is if the county implements this new MSTU, but the cities don't, everybody, including city residents, get a decrease in their millage rate. But the city residents aren't getting the MSTU, so it's a tax shift. That means city residents get a break, they get a tax break, all the county residents get a tax increase. The expenses aren't going away, but the revenue goes away in both the cities. It's a little bit of a complex walk to get there, but as it stands right now, it's a bad idea. Could it be a good idea? Absolutely. If we can get both of the cities on board, county-wide, everybody pays in the MSTU, then it creates fantastic transparency in how much of your tax dollars are actually going to the sheriff's office for law enforcement.
So this is a little bit more complex than a yes or no answer. As it is now, I would be a no on this. Reason being is that it's an additional tax. What they're hiding behind at the county commission board is that they're creating this MSTU to create transparency, but what they're doing is creating another funding mechanism, which is in another tax. So on the one side, they can have all the MSTUs combined can be 10 mills. On the other side, all the general fund millage could be 10 mills. So they can shift it from the general fund over here, but they're not capping it to the 10 mills overall. I would support this if we create a cap on it to where the overall millage won't increase over 10, but then that would create the line item on your side for the transparency.
We'll now have closing statements, starting with Commissioner Kennard, followed by Mr. Bryant.
I'll tell you a little bit about myself for those of you who I've not had the opportunity to meet or speak with in the past. In 1989, I graduated from Florida State University, where I majored in chemical science. 3 years later, I went to Palmer College of Chiropractic. I graduated with honors with my doctorate degree in chiropractic. 2 short months later after that, I married my high school sweetheart and best friend. This spring, we celebrated our 31st anniversary. She's still my best friend and nobody I'd rather spend time with. We have 2 kids that have gone through the public school system here, Casey and Weston. Casey is now a social worker at Pinellas Park Elementary School. And Weston, next week, will be starting chiropractic college over in Port Orange. We're very proud of both of them. There are a lot of ways where you can decide how you're going to pick your next county commissioner. Let me suggest some ways that are very objective, I believe. Look at education. Look at experience. Look at proven leadership. Look at their track record. Look at what their vision is. And lastly, governing philosophy. I would love to talk with anybody about all of those things. I've got them on my website, Kennard 2024. Let me briefly share with you my vision for our county. It's very straightforward, 3 parts to it. We need to protect our natural resources. We need to restore that which has been neglected for too long. We need to continue growing our economy, both in entry-level jobs as well as career class jobs. And we need to grow our healthcare industry. Where our population is growing, we need more physicians, we need more specialists, and we need more healthcare delivery facilities. I have been involved in those things. I've been involved with a program to bring medical students here. 18 new students every single year rotating through our hospitals. That's why I've been endorsed by the Florida WellCare Alliance. Those physicians, local physicians, know that I'm involved in this, know that I've been actively working on improving that. Thank you.
As a lifelong Citrus County resident, I decided to run for county commission because we're losing the Citrus County that we all came to love and enjoy. One thing is certain, change will occur, but we can manage how that change looks in the future. Do we want change that results in Citrus County looking like a Spring Hill or a Wesley Chapel? Or do we want to maintain what makes Citrus County unique and protect the nature coast that we have? This election, 2024, is one of the most important elections that we've had in decades. This election for the next board will determine how the interchanges look in Citrus County going forward. We have new interchanges to the Parkway that are coming online, and we'll continue to see major developments built around those areas. I value property rights. I believe that people should be allowed to build what's by rights within the comprehensive plan. Far too often on this board, we're seeing decisions that go against that. We can hold these developers to what they built or what they purchased and hold them to what they're allowed to build by right, or we can continue to allow those adjustments. In the past 8 years, there have been over 180 projects that have come to the county commission, and Dr. Kennard has only denied 10 of those. Is that the type of growth that we want in Citrus County going forward? Growth is just one of the challenges that we're seeing. Things like roads that have been kicked down the road for decades. In the almost 8 years that Dr. Kennard has been in office, we haven't prioritized roads. This is the first year that we prioritized roads, and he's voted against that prioritization. We need someone who will prioritize roads and actually get them fixed and not continue to focus on their pet projects. We have natural resources here that we need to protect. We don't need another campground or gas station in Homosassa or Ozello. We need someone on the board that will think about the future and not just on a year-to-year basis. With over a $450 million budget, we need someone committed to planning for the future. Money today goes further than money tomorrow. You have a choice in how Citrus County looks in the future with your vote in 2024. As Dr. Kennard said himself in 2015, it's time for some new blood. I ask that you make me your choice on August 20th of this year. Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen. We're now moving to County Commission Seat 3. This race is between Janet Barrick and incumbent Commissioner Ruthie Davis-Schleybaugh. While they're coming up, let me just remind you of a couple of dates. Early voting will be from Friday, August 9th to Saturday, August 17th. The last day to register to vote in this primary is July 22nd, and our election day is August 20th. Good evening. We have Janet A. Barrick and Ruthie Davis-Schleybaugh, and asking the questions are Jim Gavalis and Roger Krieger.
Good evening, ladies.
Good evening.
As the county experiences explosive growth, the need for development and the need to protect natural resources both matter for the future of Citrus County. How would you weigh these needs when you evaluate new proposals? So the first question goes to you, Ms. Barrett.
First, I want to look and see what does the original comp plan say, because the original commissioners and the people that worked on the comp plan knew what they were doing. They knew they had a plan for our county. Then I want to say to some of the builders, this is what it says, and we're not going to allow it. Or this is what it says, and if you can prove that you can do something positive for this community by making us change our ways, then maybe I will vote for it. Thank you.
Commissioner Schlaubeck, would you allow me to repeat the question so I don't get yelled at again?
Please.
Okay. As the county experiences explosive growth, the need for development and the need to protect natural resources both matter to the future of Citrus County. How would you weigh those needs when you evaluate new development proposals?
Can you all hear me? Well, growth is coming here. As a Florida native, I've seen my hometown, Sarasota, they can't fit one more person in there. And I've watched for 30 years Citrus County prepare for growth, and we've had notice that it's coming. So when an application is set forth and it goes to the PDC, and then if it comes to us, we need to look at and see, is this developer, and who, by the way, the developers know our comp plan much better than most of us. So our comp plan has to be tweaked because it is from the 1980s, and we need to revise some things. But a development needs to be what's right for our community. Are there green spaces? Are there going to be measures put in place for our roads? We need to make sure that we, as citizens, are not footing the bill for new development. And I would encourage developers to look and know that this county and this Board of Commissioners is going to make sure that things are done right. Thank you.
Thank you.
What are the two most important ways? What are the two most important ways the BOCC should address homeless in Citrus County?
What are the two most important ways that Citrus County should address homelessness? There's two factors that the two main factors for homelessness in the state of Florida and our nation. One is there attainable housing for people? And two, is it a mental health issue? We need to work and partner with the nonprofits of the community, which we do, to make sure that people are being set into the right department of, do they need mental health? Do they need help support finding a home? And we need to make sure that we have attainable housing for all levels, because our teachers and our deputies and our workers are having trouble finding homes in Citrus County that they can afford. So we need to work on that to make sure that we don't have the homelessness that a lot of people, a lot of other counties in the state of Florida have. Thank you.
Can you repeat the question?
Ms. Baird?
Yeah. Can you repeat the question one more time?
Oh, yeah. What are the two most important ways the BOCC should address homeless in Citrus County?
Homelessness is a condition that has no place in Citrus County. We as a board need to work with the different agencies and try to figure out where and what is needed, whether it's shelters that people can go to and feel safe, or whether it's churches that have facilities that people could feel safe. But we also need to get jobs for these people. They need training, they need jobs, and we need to be offering training and jobs to everyone so that everyone has an opportunity to feel safe and to get a place to live, because it's extremely important to everybody.
Let's solve this right now. Just for the record, I feel as tall as Roger, just so you know. This next question is for you, Ms. Barrett. Hernando County has successfully enacted a fertilizer ordinance to include restrictions on rainy season applications to turf, grass, and lawns. Would you support a similar revision to the fertilizer ordinance in Citrus County during the rainy season? Why or why not?
A few years ago, the Board of County Commissioners did put a fertilizer ordinance in place. And if we follow that one that is in place, we should not have any problems keeping the waters clearer, and that's what it was put in place for. And Hernando, I think, is just following what the Citrus County did. It's got to be about 4 years ago it was put in place. So I think we should just follow what's already there.
Thank you. Commissioner Schlaba?
We do have an ordinance in place for runoff for fertilizer, and I do support it.
Thank you.
How should the Board of County Commissioners address the issue of affordable workforce housing for residents such as teachers, nurses, firefighters, law enforcement, etc.? Commissioner Schlebuck.
Well, we definitely need attainable housing, and this is something that I have pushed for and tried to get going since I was elected in 2020. We need to make sure that our teachers, our deputies, our firefighters, our brain trust that is having to go out of the county because they can't afford to live here. We don't have enough homes, and we need to figure out. I think Cardinal and the IMA that's been put in place is a great place for us to start to get some apartments going so that we can keep our young professionals, our construction workers. If my daughters came here, 24 years old, one's in the Space Force, one's in communication, they could not afford to live in Citrus County and do the jobs they're doing right now if they didn't have us here to help support them. So that's a travesty to me. We need to make sure we have workforce housing, and I'm going to continue to push to get that. But please note this. If it's going to be in your neighborhood, please don't come forward and say you don't want it in your neighborhood, because it is necessary.
Ms. Barrett.
In the past, I was president for Citrus Springs Civic Association. We worked with Habitat for Humanity. Habitat is building in Citrus Springs, and those houses are affordable. I don't know if anybody that is accepted is a teacher, but a lot of them are. A lot of them are retired. We need to stand behind the organizations like Habitat for Humanity and help them to build more affordable housing in our communities. And the housing, if you ever went to Citrus Springs to see it, or if you came over here to Inverness, it's right down the road where they build houses for Habitat for Humanity. They're beautiful houses. The people maintain them. And we also need some apartment buildings. Citrus Springs has land allocated for apartment buildings. We need to tell the developers, hey, start building some apartment buildings where they are going, it's already been allocated.
This next question is for you, Ms. Barrett. The county has committed $2 million for the construction of a mental health facility. What do you think are the next steps the county should take to address the mental health issues in our community?
$2 million is not going to do very much to build a mental health facility. So we're going to have to bite the bullet and figure out how to build a mental health facility, because we have a lot of people, old and young, that have problems. And I'm sorry that they have the problems. I've been very fortunate. But we need to get this thing built, and we need to get it staffed. And yes, it might cost taxpayer dollar to do this, but it's a needed facility. And it's not a want, it is a need that we need to address.
Thank you. Commissioner?
We dedicated $2 million to Livestream. I happened to be one of the commissioners to vote against it because I didn't think tax dollars needed to go to a private industry. But that being said, we do need mental health facility here, and we need an agency that is properly employing and staffing and making sure that the programs that are in place are being worked. It's very important to know that the mental health industry is billions and billions of dollars. People are getting wealthy from the mental health industry, and we need to somehow make sure that we get a piece of that pie into Citrus County. But as far as taxpayers, we committed $2 million, and we need to figure out is that what the taxpayers want? Do they want more of their tax dollars put into a private industry? Thank you.
Thank you.
This is hopefully a quick yes/no answer here. The current Board of County Commissioners is considering using a municipal service taxing unit, MSTU, to help pay for law enforcement for Citrus County. If enacted, an MSTU would separate the sheriff's budget from the county budget. Residents would see a separate line and a separate millage for law enforcement on their tax bills. If elected, would you support the MSTU for funding the Citrus County Sheriff's Office? Commissioner?
I do support an MSBU, and I do believe that there's nothing wrong with having more transparency in government.
I do not support the MSTU because I don't think it's transparent. What I think is it's a shell game. They're going to move the one tax over to a MSTU, and then they're going to keep charging us as citizens. So the MSTU is not what it's cracked up to be.
All right, we'll now move to closing statements. Start with Commissioner Schleybaugh, followed by Ms. Barrick.
Thank you. I'm going to be fast because we only have 2 minutes, but I do appreciate being here and having the honor to be here. I do want to say that before I start, I want to extend my condolences to the families and co-workers of Captain Fletcher. He was a role model to many, and his death is a great loss to Citrus County. I'm a wife, I'm a mother, I'm a businesswoman, and I'm a commissioner. And I seek your support for another term. I'm grateful for the trust and confidence you have placed in me over the past 4 years. When I first took office, I promised to work tirelessly to improve our community. I'm proud of what we have accomplished as a board together. Establishing momentum has been key to our progress, and as a board, we are just getting started. It takes continuous effort, dedication, collaboration to reach our full potential, and I'm confident by maintaining this momentum, we will achieve even greater success in the future. We are fostering an environment where local businesses can thrive. In 2021, we approved a much-needed state-of-the-art animal shelter with a projected opening of 2026. We have budgeted and upgraded our roads and public transportation system, making our community more accessible and safer. I have made it a priority to listen to your concerns, and your feedback has been invaluable in guiding us. While we have made great strides, there's still more work to be done. And my vision for the next term includes implementing initiatives to make our community prepared for future growth and protection, working on projects that provide attainable housing solutions for all income levels, embracing new technologies to improve public services and drive economic development. I'm committed to continuing the progress we have made and tackling the challenges that lie ahead. As I sit here, I'm reminded of the resilience, strength, and spirit of our community. Let us continue to work together and to make our home a place we're proud of. Thank you for your trust and your support and your dedication to Citrus County. I humbly ask for your vote on August 20th. I'm Ruthie Davis Schleybaugh. Good night, and may God bless America.
My name is Janet Barrick. I'm running for office because I'm tired of people not listening. I've been going to Board of County Commission meetings since 2010. I go to almost everyone, not everyone, but almost everyone. I read the agendas, I read the backups, and I get up and say things. People come up to me in the grocery store and say, Janet, could you say this? Could you say that? It is wonderful that people are aware of some of what's going on. Couple things about myself. Number one, I'm married 53 years. I have 3 children. I have 9 grandchildren and 9 great-grandchildren. And guess what? They're not running for office. I am. I have a bachelor's degree in education. I have a minor in English. I have all the coursework done for a master's in special education emotional behavior disorder. I've taught for over 20 years in juvenile correction facilities. I've also worked in business. I have coursework, and I worked for H.J. Heinz setting up inventory control systems. So I know about finances and things like that. I also did things in this county since I'm here. I am the past president for Citrus Springs Civic Association. I was the secretary prior to that, and I was the events coordinator. When I took over, the budget had $29,000 in it, and 4 years later, when I left office, there was over $160,000 in the budget. I know how to stretch a dollar. I know how to find things. I've also been president for Nature Coast Republicans, the Beverly Hills Irish American Social Club, of which I am very proud to have my Irish white hair. And I will work hard every day for every citizen in this county because I know how to say no. If it doesn't affect the citizens in a positive way, I will not vote for it. And I appreciate your vote, August 20, 2024. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Barrick and Commissioner Schleybaugh. The final race this evening is the race for Citrus County Sheriff with the incumbent Sheriff Michael Prendergast facing David Vincent.
Like magic.
Welcome to you. Asking the questions for this race are editorial board members Kurt Ebbets and Roger Krieger. We have Sheriff Prendergast and Mr. Vincent.
Good evening. Transparency is a frequent topic in conversations, and in this particular campaign season, it's a hot-button issue. So, Sheriff Prendergast, how would you define transparency as it applies to the office of the Citrus County Sheriff?
Thank you, Colonel Ebbets, for your question. We define transparency as being able to put everything that pertains to the Sheriff's Office that doesn't compromise the safety and security of our law enforcement officers or the operational aspects of the mission as a public piece of information. There's a public right to know what's going on. For example, when we put information out about a road closure, we post that on our Facebook page because that's the fastest way to notify citizens about it. We also put our budget on our Facebook page, and as well, we share it on our website for the agency. In addition of sharing things like that, we also do public outreach, and we have meetings with not only the city councils and have conversations with the county commissioners, but we go out and meet with the public on the street, and we have conversations about the earnestness that the things that are going on that are important for the citizens so that they know exactly what is taking place in the Sheriff's Office. It's neat to use a buzzword, but actually implementing it and doing it on a daily basis is what we're all about.
Thank you. Chief, would you like me to repeat the question, or are you ready to go?
If you could, please.
Okay. Transparency is a frequent topic of discussion in conversations, and during this campaign season, it's been a rather hot-button issue. So how would you define transparency as it applies to the Citrus County Sheriff's Office?
Well, I think the biggest issue that we're facing when it comes to transparency is obviously our budget. From my experience at our Sheriff's Office and help preparing those budgets, when it comes to you as a taxpayer, you need to have that transparency to see where your tax dollars are being spent. I want to be a good steward of your money, just like I want to be a good steward of my money as a taxpayer as well. So when it comes to transparency with a budget, it's easy to put out a budget at the beginning of the year and show you where we expect to spend money, but it's another thing at the end of the year to show you where we actually spent that money. So I think it's important to you as a taxpayer It's important for you as a taxpayer to see, are we being good stewards of your money? So that's the first thing when it comes to transparency. The second part about transparency is being timely and factual with information. We don't want to jump to the conclusions before we know the facts and we put out that information to you. I'm a big believer of transparency when it's coming to things that are happening in your neighborhoods, on our highways, and make sure that we're being good stewards of that information.
Thank you both.
Community relations between the Citrus County Sheriff's Office and the public are clearly important to constituents. In what two ways could you, as a sheriff, improve community relations? Chief Vincent?
Well, at the heart of our philosophy, or I should say my philosophy, is community policing. We are still Citrus County. We are Citrus County strong, and we have got to be connected to this community at our sheriff's office. So what does that look like for you? We need to get back engaged with our business communities, our residential communities. We've got to have good relationships with our Board of County Commissioners and our school district, because there's nothing more important than moving this county forward than having those relationships. If you have successful relationships in all of those areas, good things are going to happen for Citrus County.
Sheriff.
Chief, go ahead and repeat the question for us, please.
Community relations between the Citrus County Sheriff's Office and the public are clearly important to constituents. In what two ways could you, as sheriff, improve community relations?
Well, I think our community relations is pretty outstanding. We work very hard to meet with our citizens on a daily basis. And in addition to that, when we take our mission to the heart and perform our duties every single day, we're delivering excellence in public safety. And let me give you an example of that. Back in 2018, on the 14th of February, when the Marjorie Stoneman Douglas shooting occurred down in South Florida, we were the first sheriff's office in the state of Florida to put a sworn law enforcement officer on every public school campus in Citrus County. And we were the first ones in the state to lead the way for that. We should have a sworn law enforcement officer on every public school campus, but they've been removed from some of the public school campuses for some reason unknown and unbriefed back to the sheriff. But I think it's a short-sighted move on their part, and it's a great question that ought to come up on why don't we have a sworn law enforcement officer on every public school campus in the community. That's what transparency and accountability is all about, making sure that we're protecting those students, those 16,000 kids whose lives depend on our public safety being there should something bad go down.
You both have had very successful careers in law enforcement. That said, what are the two top indicators of success for the person who is elected as sheriff? And Sheriff Prendergast, I'll begin with you.
The top two indicators of our success are the great people that we have working for the Citrus County Sheriff's Office, who every day when their alarm clock goes off, they get up, they suit up, they show up, and they execute the mission to the standards of excellence required by the Criminal Justice Standards and Training Commission. And then they go back home to their families at night, and they get prepared to do it all over again the very next day. And delivering that excellence in public safety is a huge measure of our success. But it's also about the fact that we've got citizens who trust us and share information with us on a daily basis, whether it's information about a drug dealer that happens to live on their street, or it's about a traffic problem that people see, or if it's about some of the other issues that confront citizens all across our community, where they're not reluctant to share that information with us and make sure that we have the good information that we need to be able to serve them better and protect their families and their way of life.
Chief Vincent, are you ready, or you want me to repeat?
Could you repeat that again, please?
Yes, sir. What are the two top indicators of success for the person who is elected as sheriff?
Well, that's a great question. So when you look at someone who is taking the office of one of the most important pieces of the puzzle when it comes to you and your family's safety, there's two things. Experience. My experience, which is much different than my opponents, has started here in 1993. And for the last 31 years, Citrus County has educated me far beyond my formal education about what's happening here in Citrus County. They have taught me to be a leader who is compassionate, who is empathetic, who understands what it is to raise a family here in Citrus County. That is what you need as this leadership as we move forward into 2024, is someone who understands Citrus County, who has spent their entire professional life here and is devoted to this community.
Thank you both.
The Board of County Commissioners has adopted a municipal service taxing unit to help pay for law enforcement for Citrus County. If implemented, an MSTU would separate the sheriff's budget from the county budget. Residents would see a separate line and a separate millage for law enforcement on their tax bill. Do you support an MSTU for funding of the Citrus County Sheriff's Department as discussed by the BOCC? Chief Vincent?
So as we heard earlier from one of our county commissioner candidates, as long as the right things are in place to protect your tax dollar, I think one of the things that you might hear from my opponent is he's worried about the transparency and what that looks like when it comes to an MSTU. I am for transparency, and if MSTU brings more transparency forward, then sign me up for that, and we'll get that done. But I want to make sure it's an effective use of your tax dollars. It is a movement of the millage from one area to another so that we make sure that we are funding what we need for our men and women out here, protecting your lives and mine, and making sure that that funding mechanism is appropriate. So as long as it's good for you as a taxpayer and the Board of County Commissioners in the two cities get that worked out, I think it's a positive move in the direction for our capital investments at the Sheriff's Office.
Sheriff?
I'm not in favor of a municipal services taxing unit because it is double taxation. The taxpayers are putting enough money out there as it is right now, and we don't want to overburden them with additional bureaucracy that causes more work on the sheriff's office, but actually yields less time for employees to be able to out there and do the job that they have to do. Double taxation doesn't work. It's proven to fail time after time, and there's a reason why there's only 2 sheriff's offices in the entire state who have an MSTU, and they're only limited to very small fragments of the overall sheriff's budget. There's funding out there, but the problem is it's about priorities, and we need to prioritize public safety much higher than what it is. Citrus County is the 33rd largest state or county in the great state of Florida, but public safety is funded at number 59 across the great state of Florida. In fact, Levy County invests more per capita for public safety than Citrus County does, and Levy is one of the much smaller counties and fiscally constrained counties in the entire state.
And now we'll go to closing statements, and we'll start with you, Mr. Vincent.
All right, well, what a great community we live in. I just want to first say thanks to the Chronicle for hosting this and getting people out and engaged in this process. And for those of you that took the time out of your lives to come and hear all these candidates, thanks for being an informed voter. So we have a unique opportunity in 2024 to change what the future looks like for the next 5 to 10, and even beyond that of what law enforcement is going to look like here in Citrus County. So what we have seen over the last 7 years from my opponent is what it looks like to no longer have community engagement, positive working relationships, and collaborative efforts. My opponent will tell you that my campaign is an effort to undo all of the good things that he has done. Well, I'm here to tell you some of that is true. I want to reverse and rebuild those broken relationships with our school district, our Board of County Commissioners, our nonprofits, our business communities, and residential communities. I want you and your families to feel safer on our roadways. I want to be a fiscal conservative that cares about your tax dollars and how we're spending it in our county. I want to be your sheriff who is engaged and makes this the greatest and safest community in the state of Florida. So as you're sitting here tonight, you've got a big decision to make here on August 20th. And so if you elect me as your next sheriff 6 months to a year from now, what should you expect to see? What you will see from my leadership is a more focused drug enforcement initiative, more cars in your neighborhoods, more traffic enforcement in those areas that produce fatalities, a better customer service model, and a community presence like you have never felt before. In closing, I'm going to leave you with this. I have been serving this community for the last 31 years, and when it comes to the job of sheriff, experience matters. My priority will always be Citrus County and you and your family's safety. On August 20th, we have a chance to hit the reset button, and a vote for David Vincent is a vote for Citrus County.
My name is Michael Prendergast. I am your sheriff. I spent 31 years on active duty serving this great country. I know what leadership is. Leadership is doing the right thing. It's not bending to the whims or the will of a small sector of our community. It's serving all of the people. And let me talk about this school board that's out there. The school board, we've got a great relationship with a couple of those school board members. Do we always agree? Absolutely not. But you don't want somebody who drinks from the same fountain that does everything the same way. You want a leader who stands up to the wrong things and does the right thing. And that's what we've done for over 7.5 years now. Now, I want to tell you some of these things that my opponent was talking about his experience and everything. If you've done everything the same for 30 years, have you really grown as a professional? I say no, you haven't. Doing the same thing over and over again is not the way to get to the matters at hand, to serve you best, to protect you, your way of life, and most importantly, the future of this great community that we call home. Now, I wasn't here 30 years ago because I was on active duty serving the United States of America, protecting the homeland. And I grew up in the Army as a leader. Leaders understand that you take tough challenges by the horns and you tackle those tough challenges. But let me tell you what my opponent did not too long ago. He has stood in the way of the Teen Driver Challenge for years now. We put that on the shelf for a short period of time back in 2020 because of COVID. Since he's been the chief, he's not allowed the Teen Driver Challenge to come back to take care of our young drivers that are out there. And as a consequence of his lack of leadership, we've seen a 142% increase in Citrus County in fatal traffic accidents. And unfortunately, we've also seen an 83% increase in the number of fatalities among the young kids that are out there. This is hard data. That's transparency and that's accountability. A vote for Mike Prendergast on August 20th is a vote to protect you, your family, and your future for the good of this community for not just the next 4 years, but for the rest of your lifetime and the lifetime of the next generation. God bless you.
Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you all for being here this evening. It's been a great forum.